Do you remember the action movies of the 80s that used to fill entire movie halls? Today, it's impossible to watch them without nostalgia and a glass of something strong. But even those movies look more memorable than many of today's Netflix movies. These movies are the same old action movies, but with huge budgets. Netflix knows how to work with the nostalgia, inviting stars from the past who no longer shine in big movies. But Hollywood is increasingly relying on young actors. They grace the covers of magazines and show up on red carpets, but for some reason, their movies are rarely successful in distribution. Just look at the list of Netflix's most popular movies. Most stars are over 40. For example, Ryan Reynolds is already 47. But where are the young stars? Why aren't new talents achieving such success? In the past, actors had to go through fire and water to become superstars. 2 or 3 failures could have blocked their way into the big movies. But today, young stars go through numerous failures and still stay in the game. What has happened to the industry, and why have the requirements for stars become so flexible? Today, young Hollywood stars can have 3, 4, or even 5 consecutive commercial failures, and their careers are not jeopardized. In the past, actors had to prove their talent through successful projects in order to become superstars. Without brilliant hits, success was impossible, even with powerful relatives or connections behind them. Just think of the great actresses of the past. Meryl Streep had 8 box office hits out of 10 movies between The Deer Hunter and Out of Africa. Barbra Streisand boasted an equally impressive tally. These actresses became legends not just because of talent, but because of the movies the audience chose to watch. Today, Hollywood is different. Instead of numerous independent agents managing the careers of actors, the industry is ruled by just 3 major agencies. Young actors are less and less likely to face real challenges. Failure no longer leads to oblivion, and star status can be maintained until someone at the top decides otherwise. So, let's take a look at the newest superstars. They don't have enough movies to dedicate a separate video to each of them, but enough mistakes and triumphs to uncover how they maintain their position. When you see a young star on screen, there's a 99% chance they represent one of the 3 remaining acting agencies. The other 1% are rare exceptions, like Bill Murray. He had no agent and no agency. He lost a lot of roles because of this, as people couldn't reach out to him. But he seems fine. Hollywood has become part of globalization, just like the rest of the world. Previously, the most influential publications were owned by dozens of people and were independent. But today, almost all of them are owned by one big player. This also applies to studios. For example, A24. Their popularity and success are greatly boosted by the same publications that write about their movies. Every year, the same publications publish lists of the most promising young stars. The problem is that these lists usually feature the same 10 to 20 names, chosen based on publicity rather than real accomplishments. 30 years ago, these lists were an accurate prediction of future superstars, but now it's more of a marketing game. Today, we will focus on a few actors from such lists. Again, I didn't call them stars with bright futures. The most reputable publications did. Anyway, let's look at the newest superstars and their journey to fame. Let's start with Anya Taylor-Joy. Everyone loves her, perhaps except those who think she looks like Sid, the character from the Ice Age cartoon. Her origins are so varied that you can get confused. A little bit English, a little bit Argentinian, a little bit South African. Although she was accidentally born in Miami when her parents were on vacation. Anya's career had an unusual start. Her first work, a minor role in the Vampire Academy movie, was removed during editing. But in 2015, her life changed thanks to her main role in Robert Eggers' budget horror, The Witch. The movie, produced for $3 million, earned $40 million at the box office, bringing Anya her first wave of popularity. Eggers later said that he hired her almost by accident. She was the first actress who came to casting. But her performance was so impressive that he immediately approved her for the role. The success of The Witch opened the door to Hollywood for Anya. She was invited into horror and thrillers, including Netflix projects. However, not all the movies were successful. The Morgan movie failed at the box office, not even recouping its modest budget. But Split, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, was a real breakthrough. The story behind the making of Split is so complicated that it's also worthy of being made into a movie. Joaquin Phoenix left the project, and James McAvoy got the lead role at the last minute. Shyamalan filmed it with his own money, facing a lot of challenges. Despite all this, the movie, made for $9 million, made $278 million. This success cemented Anya Taylor-Joy's status as one of the most promising actresses of her generation. After Split, Anya Taylor-Joy continued to work actively, but her choice of roles was not always successful. Such projects as Here Are the Young Men and Thoroughbreds failed. The only major success for several years was the film Glass, the sequel to Split, and Unbreakable, which brought the actress recognition again. The New Mutants from the X-Men universe was Anya's next big project. The project was supposed to be an important milestone in her career, but everything went wrong. The movie was filmed back in 2017, but its release was delayed for several years. First because of reshoots, then because Disney purchased Fox Studios. When The New Mutants was finally released in 2020, it failed, making only $49 million, considering that its budget was $80 million. But despite this failure, Anya didn't give up. Her next project turned out to be a real triumph. In 2020, the Queen's Gambit series hit Netflix, setting new viewing records. Critics were thrilled and viewers loved her role as a chess genius. Anya won a Golden Globe for this role, which solidified her position in the industry. However, further movies were less successful. 2021 saw the release of Last Night in Soho, directed by Edgar Wright, which made only $22 million against a budget of $43 million. The following year brought a triple blow with Amsterdam, The Northman, and The Menu. Amsterdam made only $31 million against a budget of $80 million. Anya had a minor role in it, but it still added another failure to her piggy bank. The Menu had better results, collecting $78 million against a budget of $35 million, but did not achieve significant success. But The Northman was one of the biggest failures of 2022. With a huge budget of $90 million, the movie earned only $70 million, making it a commercial failure. In 2024, Anya returned with Furiosa, a prequel to Mad Max. Despite high expectations, the movie, with a budget of $168 million, grossed only $172 million, making it another controversial page in her career. However, things aren't going so badly for Anya. The only project in recent years that has been successful is voicing Princess Peach in the animated movie Mario, which was a hit. In the future, she is looking forward to working with directors like Scott Derrickson and filming with Chris Evans. Her career seems to be staying afloat despite a series of box office failures. In the 90s, actresses like Madeline Stower or Ashley Judd would end their careers after a couple of flops, but times have changed. Anya Taylor-Joy is a new age superstar who can seemingly survive any failure. Talented Rachel Zegler is one of those actresses often called stars with a great future. Steven Spielberg, known for his ability to find talent in the most unexpected places, noticed her. He opened the way for many actors, including Christian Bale, and now decided to give young Rachel a chance. Zegler debuted in West Side Story, a remake of the iconic musical from 1961, directed by Spielberg. To get the lead female role, Rachel went through dozens of auditions, where she managed to beat the competition. In contrast, her partner, Ansel Elgort, had to overcome a more difficult path, as his first auditions were unsuccessful. Nevertheless, both he and Rachel eventually got their roles. There were high expectations for West Side Story. Critics were delighted, and Spielberg admitted that he worked on this project with a special love. However, the audience took the movie with restraint. With a budget of $100 million, the movie made only $76 million, becoming a commercial failure. Despite this, Rachel Zegler won a Golden Globe, which emphasized the recognition of her talent in the professional community. The movie was a big step for her into big Hollywood, but not everything went smoothly. During filming, her partner, Ansel Elgort, was at the center of a scandal involving allegations of inappropriate behavior. Rachel admitted that she felt uncomfortable on set, which caused a wave of discussion. But despite the backlash from some viewers, her career is moving forward. Rachel Zegler's second movie was Shazam! Fury of the Gods. After the success of the first movie, Warner Brothers Studio had high hopes for the sequel. However, the movie was another box office disappointment for Zegler. With a budget of $125 million, it grossed only $134 million, not enough to cover production and marketing costs. Despite the storm of criticism and nominations for the Golden Raspberry, Rachel avoided accusations of failure. It's hard to find similar examples of actors whose careers started with two major failures in a row. Taylor Kitsch comes to mind, who disappeared from Hollywood's top positions after the failure of John Carter and Battleship. However, Kitsch didn't have a Golden Globe like Zegler, which helped her maintain her status as an up-and-coming star. Next, Rachel faced a new challenge. Her part in Disney's Snow White has sparked a firestorm of discussion. The actress criticized the classic plot and the famous prince's kiss, calling it outdated and disgusting. These comments caused a flurry of negativity on social media, and the actress's popularity among viewers plummeted. However, Disney Studios has decided to reshoot the movie, which will not be released until 2025. According to rumors, test screenings of the new version were successful, and the film could be the next big project for Rachel. Meanwhile, the actress has managed to regain attention thanks to the prequel of The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This prequel, with Zegler in the lead role, grossed $344 million against a budget of $100 million. While this is a modest result for the franchise, it is quite decent for a spin-off. The movie was Rachel's first significant success after a series of failures. In 2024, she will also appear in a new comedy horror movie from A24 Studios. Its budget is much lower, so a possible failure will not seriously affect her career. Rachel Zegler remains one of the most discussed young stars, and her future successes will show if she can meet the expectations. Like Rachel Zegler, John David Washington proves that in modern Hollywood, even a series of failures doesn't mean the end of a career. His last name is familiar to many. He is the son of the legendary actor Denzel Washington. It reminds the story of Michael Douglas, the son of Kirk Douglas, who began with low-profile roles. However, Michael found his big break with the movie Romancing the Stone. John David hasn't had that moment yet, but he's steadily moving forward, remaining one of the most prominent stars of his generation. His real debut as a lead actor came with Spike Lee's Black Klansman, which was successful both at the box office, earning $93 million against a budget of $15 million, and among critics. The movie brought Washington several prestigious nominations, including a Golden Globe. However, the following projects were less successful. The low-budget Monsters and Men went almost unnoticed, and Christopher Nolan's big-budget Tenet movie faced enormous difficulties due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The film tried to revive movie theaters after the restrictions. However, its box office collections failed to live up to expectations. After Tenet, Washington turned to Netflix projects, which are usually more successful due to the streaming model. However, his return to the big screen proved unsuccessful. In 2022, he appeared in the movie Amsterdam, one of the year's most high-profile flops. The movie, with a budget of $80 million, grossed only $31 million. In 2023, he was back in the spotlight with the science fiction film The Creator, but it also failed to live up to expectations, collecting $104 million on a budget of $80 million. So far, John David Washington has had a series of failures. 2 movies with budgets of $80 million and 1 with a budget of $200 million. Nevertheless, his career has remained steady. At the end of 2024, he appeared in a new successful Netflix movie, The Piano Lesson, which won good feedback from critics and viewers. The project was even nominated for several awards, cementing Washington's position as one of the prominent stars of his generation. The actor already has new projects planned for 2025. The question is whether he can finally find his romancing the stone to anchor his superstar status, or whether he will remain just a popular actor whose career depends on big names and ambitious but risky projects. 12 years ago, the box office failure of a movie such as John Carter could cost a Disney studio executive his job. But today, even a series of major failures do not lead to such drastic consequences. Responsibility for failure is shared differently, and the industry has become more tolerant of both actors and executives. However, there is one exception, or rather, one actor who stands out from the crowd. He also has his downfalls, but his career remains bright. His name is Timothée Chalamet. Many people dislike him, considering him just another typical Hollywood diva. But such traits were common to the stars of old Hollywood, so it's okay. Timothée Chalamet calls Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight the main inspiration for his acting career. His journey began with minor roles, including the teenage version of the lead character in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. Chalamet's first significant projects had varying results. Hostels flopped, and Hot Summer Nights was too small to make an impact on his career. But these films helped him build a decent portfolio. Two breakthrough films were Lady Bird, where he played a supporting role, and Call Me By Your Name, which brought him international recognition. This movie about a complicated relationship was a hit among critics. Chalamet received numerous nominations, including an Oscar, and anchored his status as one of Hollywood's most promising actors. In 2017, Timothée Chalamet was considered a rising star, and the movie Call Me By Your Name earned rave reviews from critics. The film was literally flooded with nominations, including Oscar and Golden Globe, and Chalamet received nominations for all the prestigious Best Actor awards. The movie grossed $42 million, becoming an art house hit. However, instead of chasing high-profile blockbusters, Timothée made a different choice. He consulted Leonardo DiCaprio, who gave him important advice: no hard drugs and no superhero movies. Following this rule, Chalamet focused on small but significant projects that reinforced his reputation as a serious actor. From 2017 to 2021, he was busy acting in relatively modest films. Some of them, as is often the case, were not successful, but others, such as Little Women, became real hits. The movie grossed $219 million on a budget of $40 million, showing that even in costume dramas, Chalamet is able to attract viewers. This part of his career ended with two prominent projects on Netflix. The King became a successful festival film, and Don't Look Up became one of the most watched films in the streaming service's history. Despite the star-studded cast, critics mostly emphasized other actors. But the fact that Timothée was involved in this project solidified his status as one of the most promising actors. One of the highlights of Timothée Chalamet's career was Dune. Despite a pandemic and simultaneous release on streaming services, the movie grossed $400 million on a budget of $165 million. This success guaranteed a sequel, released in 2023, which was even more impressive, grossing $712 million on a budget of $190 million. Between the two Dune movies, Chalamet tried his hand at an art house project, Bones and All, but the film, with a budget of $16 million, flopped, grossing only $15 million. However, 2023 brought the actor two big hits, Dune Part 2 and Wonka. The latter collected $632 million with a budget of $125 million, significantly surpassing the result of the movie with Johnny Depp. The success of these projects anchored Chalamet's status as one of the leading stars of his generation. Chalamet's career is reminiscent of the era of classic Hollywood actors. To anchor his status as a superstar, he needs a project that becomes his calling card, like Risky Business for Tom Cruise or The Bodyguard for Kevin Costner. However, in today's environment, where advertising campaigns play a major role, it is more difficult to achieve similar success as in past decades. Today, many actors are glimpsed on most promising lists, but Chalamet stands out for his ambition, his constant choice of meaningful projects, and his unique charisma. His future films will show whether he is capable of becoming a legend of a new generation. Zendaya and Tom Holland represent another category of young stars whose careers are closely tied to major franchises and streaming projects. Outside these formats, Zendaya boasts only one notable failure, which is probably a credit to her brilliant manager, who helps her avoid mistakes when choosing her roles. While their achievements may seem modest compared to the era of the 90s and the noughties and the 2000s, Zendaya and Holland continue to be in the spotlight. Today's realities, where success relies heavily on franchises, contribute to their stable position. Perhaps their careers will provide more material to analyze in a few years, but it's already clear that both have potential and a devoted audience. Hollywood is changing, but its young stars continue to find their paths to success while facing new challenges and opportunities. Future legends will surely emerge among them, and their names will take their place alongside the greatest stars of the past. We can only watch as these talents will overcome challenges and change the movie industry. Thank you for being with us. See you in the next episodes.